I remember 2012, 2013, that was the Syrian refugee crisis. I know the world was watching. Many of you saw that happen. I remember it well because I was there. And I saw the pain and the suffering that those people went through, and it spoke volumes to my heart. And there are many lessons that can be learned there. The situation is very relevant even to this day for everyone. There are many, many lessons that can be learned. There are lessons on compassion, lessons on love and action, lessons on emotional maturity, and how to properly deal with a hard situation like that. And I remember seeing many people coming over the border with hollow eyes, horror on their faces because of what they had seen. And I remember the Kurdish people having so much love and compassion. There were restaurants putting out free food. There were churches that took people in. There were mosques that took people in. There were malls that were under construction where the mall was stopped. The construction was stopped. Everything stopped. And they allowed the people to live in that mall. And they said, we're not going to finish that mall until this situation is resolved. This is your home now. And you don't see a lot of countries doing that. I think that in many ways, Kurdistan was a role model to the rest of the world on this is how you deal with a situation that is difficult, and this is how you deal with it with love and with compassion. There were at least 2 million people that flooded over the border into Kurdistan. And according to the Kurdish Project, at this point, 28% of the population in Kurdistan is Syrian refugees. So I think it is very, very crucial that we learn how to maintain our hearts of compassion in a world that is hurting. And I really believe that the Kurdish people demonstrated how to do that and how to maintain a heart of compassion in a world that is hurting and in pain by what they did in helping these people, even though it was hard. Our hearts should always be moved when we see pain. If they're not, we need to look at ourselves and say, hey, what's going on here? Why am I not moved by this? I should be moved by this. According to scientists in Psychology Today, an article in Psychology Today, sensitivity to the suffering of others should be coupled with a desire to alleviate their suffering. And that's a definition of compassion. And we should all have that in our hearts, where when we see somebody who is hurting, we should want to help. We should want to help. And if we don't want to help, that's a heart check. That's something we need to check and say, hey, what's going on with me? Why am I this way? Love is just not something that's words, something that you write down, something that you say, hey, I love you. But love is action. And I saw that with the Kurdish people. When when the Syrians came over the border, they were there. They were ready. And they put their love into action. They built houses for them. I remember going to one man's house who owned a business. And he would build cabins, little buildings that you could live in. And he was building free buildings for the Syrian refugees. Out of maybe 10 buildings that he would sell to the oil companies, he would build two or three for the Syrian refugees. And that was his gift to help them. That was love in action. And I remember that. It was amazing. The Business Journal of January 2011 had an article about beyond contracts, love and firms. And what they were saying in that article that I thought was very relevant to this situation was that in the Western mindset, a lot of times we think that business is just business and we separate it from love and caring for others. And we say, this is just business. And their whole point is that that is hurting the business model and that love and care should be incorporated into business in everything we do. And I thought that was very relevant because I saw that when I was in Kurdistan, where in the business that they would do and the way that they would work with the refugees and how they were taking care of the situation and in how they were working in their everyday lives, they incorporated love and care and concern into what they were doing. And that was amazing to me. I had never seen anything like that. And I thought, this is an amazing model. So I really know, and I do this, I tend to be more closed emotionally when it comes to difficult situations. And I know that really changed in my life when I went to Kurdistan and I was involved in that situation where I had to be open more emotionally. And I think we need to be brave. When I opened myself up in Kurdistan and became brave emotionally, it allowed me to process the crisis better and handle it better. I was able to deal with it in an emotionally sound way. And I was able to see how the Kurdish people opened up to the refugees. They opened their hearts, they demonstrated true love and compassion and care and concern, and they demonstrated real emotional maturity in the way they dealt with the situation. And even though it was hard to deal with that situation, they were able to maintain themselves through the difficulties and they came out better on the other side.